The typical call to action that we see on most lender and loan officers' websites and landing pages is apply now, right? Or some reference to get into my POS and let's get into the process. The fact that the average age of a first-time home buyer is 38. And so if that's the case, and we've got these millions of consumers who are otherwise typically of age to buy, but just have kind of held out for various reasons, they're not ready to apply now. There needs to be another call to action to bring somebody into your ecosystem and start to build a relationship. And when I say build a relationship, I'm really going to say build a relationship that's anchored on education and then extends through engagement. And that's what our product really helps loan officers do, is have that other call to action. You still can have your apply now because that's the holy grail. But for the 9 out of 10 that are hitting your website that aren't ready to apply, give them a learn more or some other option to engage with you and get value from you as a professional. And so this landing page that I'm showing is our KeySteps branded version of FinLocker. So this is our non-lender / non-enterprise version of the FinLocker product that's available for all loan officers. We branded it KeySteps because there are key steps in the home buying and preparing process, and this app provides that for consumers. And so this could be an example of a call to action on your website that brings people into this experience. And when they hit this landing page, we identify a consumer really on where they are in their process. I'm looking for a home. I've hit a roadblock. Maybe I've been turned down somewhere else. I'm planning for a future purchase, or I've recently bought a home and I just want to be a savvy homeowner. But essentially this landing page drives the user to either sign up or sign back into their FinLocker experience. So when we deploy our product, it's a web app, which is what I'm showing you today on the screen, but it's also a native mobile app. And so as a loan officer now, you take residency on your prospect and your client's phone in the form of this native mobile app. And where that gets really interesting is in some of the engagement that happens off of the app. But essentially what we have is this consumer experience, and the consumer experience is important to note that we always have the loan officer front and center, right? So this cool loan officer that hasn't written a loan in 35 years, is the person that invited this consumer in. And with your realtor partner, we enable co-branding. So this is what that looks like with the loan officer and the agent. And each of those pairings has a unique invitation link. And so when Chris, the realtor, is inviting his sphere of influence and database into this experience, his database is going to be introduced to Brian, the loan officer, and that pairing is created there. And so the technology always keeps the loan officer, and by extension, any of the loan officer's referral partners, directly connected with the consumer. So this is a series of widgets on this dashboard, but it really starts with a simple question we ask every consumer when they create their account. Where are you on your homeownership journey? And there's 5 answers to that question, or personas that we create based on how the user answers the question. You can only be in one persona. And so just getting started is our early journey, first-time home buyer. So 6, 12, 18 plus months up funnel. Getting ready is somebody that's probably, in that 90-day-ish range. And so maybe, I would tell you it's a great idea for every pre-approval you do to invite them into this experience, because now the experience is going to create more stickiness for that pre-approval for you. Overcoming challenges is kind of what it sounds like. It's what we call a turn down use case. Ready now. We actually see in a social media use case where loan officers that have, pretty good followings on social are using this tool as a lead magnet for their social posts. Typically, we see about 15% of the users that download the app off of social, they indicate they're actually ready now. And so when a consumer creates their account and they say they're ready now, we're going to alert the loan officer right away of that. And then finally, we have this not looking persona. That's kind of your existing client, your existing homeowner who, again, is looking to be more of a savvy homeowner, understand how they can optimize the equity in their home. I'll show you briefly what that looks like. Each of these personas has its own unique journey and experience. So just getting started is really going to lean into this readiness experience, right? And so this first section of the dashboard is really focused on mortgage readiness. And so I'll just show you a glimpse real quick of what that looks like. And so in this case, our user has 3 out of 4 stars of readiness. And when we measure readiness and assess a consumer's readiness, we're really looking at 4 dimensions. Cash, how much money do they have for down payment, closing costs, their employment and income, their credit score, and their DTI. We're going to calculate both a monthly housing and monthly total DTI. And we have some proxies for readiness. I want to be clear, this is not a pre-qual, this is not a pre-approval. This is an extension of the great work that loan officers that lead with education do. So this is a education and confidence building experience that leads to a successful application. And I say all that for the compliance folks that may be tuning in. We really differentiate between a pre-qual, pre-approval, and this education, engagement, and confidence building experience. But we use stars to gamify this for our user, for the consumer. And so behind these readiness widgets, we're really leveraging 3 sources of primary data. 2 of those are consumer permission direct source, credit and assets. And then the third is what we call consumer contributed. It's all the information we learn about your user as they create their profile, as they engage with the app. We keep collecting and adding on to that information, and it all becomes part of the data that we use to assess somebody's readiness. So from a credit perspective, the user is going to get access to their credit score. It updates every 7 days. That 7-day cadence, think of that as another touch point for you as the originator. Every time the consumer's credit updates in the app, it creates an opportunity for the app to reach out and engage the consumer and pull them back in on your behalf. We don't send necessarily a weekly credit update to every user, but once a month, they're going to get an update when their credit score changes. And in the interim, if it moves plus or minus 5 points, we feel that's enough of a move to alert somebody to come back in. That's going to create an opportunity for the consumer to come back in the app. Beyond the credit score, the user has access to this what if scenario, right? So now I know a lot of loan officers use a what if scenario with their borrowers. This is kind of a DIY version of that for the consumer to come in and run scenarios like paying down balances, changing payment histories, and things of that sort. And they'll see how it potentially impacts their credit score. And I say potentially because this is a model. The consumer still has to take the action that they modeled in order for it to impact their score. Beyond credit, we prompt a user to connect to their financial accounts, both assets and liabilities. And once they start connecting those financial accounts, this personal financial widget, if you will, comes to life, where we're showing the user kind of their single pane of glass view of their financial life and this net worth vision. But we also, as you know, show them their DTI and their cumulative savings, because those are 2 components of readiness that people need to be paying attention to, especially early in their process. And then we have another widget that's centered around on the home itself. So for those users, those consumers that already own a home, they can connect their property in the app. We bring in a bank-rated valuation model that's powered by Home Genius. And then you'll note here, not only is the value presented, the property value, but we've got this estimated home equity. And what's unique about our experience is when a user links their property, we prompt them to actually connect directly to their mortgage if they have one, or mortgages if they have multiple loans on a property. And so this view of equity is not a reverse amortization where we're estimating the balance of a mortgage. It's not a stale mortgage balance from a credit report. It's literally coming from a connected account, a mortgage account in this app. And so if a payment posted yesterday, it would be reflected today. The user can have multiple properties. So when we start talking about those house hacks, you could have a rental property, a second home, primary, et cetera. And what's cool is we also have embedded real estate search. So when you think about the readiness journey, too often people start with search in Zillow, which is fine. We're not going to change that necessarily. But the right way to search for your home is to understand where that home falls in your budget and what that payment looks like. So in this instance, anybody that favorited a property in our embedded search, we then overlay where it falls in their budget and their estimated payment for that. So we have an integration. We bring in an index rate from Optimal Blue. We have a couple other data points that we bring in where we bring in property tax information, insurance information. And again, this is all an estimated payment in a budget for where that property would fall. I don't want to go any further in this because we could do this for an hour, but anybody that wants to see this a layer deeper, please reach out direct. We